what I've really realized is that it's incredibly hard to not make the connection between when you do something and getting an action from it, and not getting wrapped up in all of the drama that happens. Let me explain what I'm actually talking about, right? So there's this basic story with how we learn. And so we have an action and then we have an outcome. And the more that we sort of see connection between the action and the outcome, the clearer it is, better off we're going to learn. At least that's the story, right? We're going to be motivated, incentivized. We're going to want to do these things. The trouble is that most of life, we never see that connection. Like almost all areas of our life that truly matter, we don't see that connection very well. And it's hard to see that connection, and we shouldn't see that connection. I want to think about something that I did 5 years ago that I told one of my sons, or that I told my wife had ramifications today, right? Like I might have said something of, when they were down in the dumps, or maybe I was angry at them. And I said something and they remembered it, and it stuck with them, how they interacted with me. I'm not going to necessarily see that connection. It's not going to be easy to see. Give you another example is that in education, that we often don't see the connection between what we learned in a classroom, say when we were in high school, to some sort of career aspect that happened when you were 40 years old. I learned English, creative writing I loved that class. And maybe it was something about creative writing that really stuck with me, and I can't see that. Now, another clear one that I see every day, but you don't see, is that I do research. And when I write, it takes an enormously long time by the time I see benefits from this. The whole review process, scientific review process, all of that kind of stuff takes years and years and years of my profession when I'm doing it myself. And that's what I typically have to do, is you do it yourself. But you have a team, it's a little different, I think. But when you do it yourself, it takes years. Like, I have a basic rule where it's 10 years. That by the time you start an idea, or more, that by the time it actually gets to fruition. And, another example of this, and this is why I started thinking about this morning, is that I started this podcast. So first of all, if you don't know, I started the Reciprocity Project. I started building this platform where I wanted to create non-rejectable research papers. The reason why is that there's not a great, there's not a great feedback system that currently exists. It's very artesian in the scientific effort. And so, or you work with a master, and the master sort of, and this is the model, right? The master tells you what to do, and then you do that particular thing. And, that's the model that's been around for hundreds of years. And I kind of want to change that, because that depends on a lot of things. It depends that you actually had a good person to work with, good supervisor. That's highly variable. It depends on you can find it, all those kind of things. But if we created a feedback system that was automated, it'll be a lot more clear. But anyways, that's besides the point. So I created that, and I realized that there was no audience being done. So I started doing a YouTube show. And the YouTube show actually did really well. It was doing phenomenally well until about COVID happened, or mid-COVID. And it was continuing to grow. And then it's kind of petered out. It's kind of sort of slowly petered out. But during COVID, I started doing this podcast that you're listening to and sort of filling in the spaces with the podcast as much as I possibly can. And nothing happened with it. Nobody listened to it. Nothing was going on. It was just me barking into the wind, as I like to say. That's what dogs do. And there was nothing going on. There's nobody there. And what's interesting is that I did that for, I think this is year 3 now. And there was nothing. For most people, almost everybody would have gave up. But I continued to do that. And I continued to, at the day-to-day, get frustrated and think about this. It's like, this is really hard. I want to give up, but I'm not going to give up. Every day you kind of go through that. And then it changed a bit in the last little bit. There's been some changes that I think are happening that are going on with the platform that I'm using. And all of a sudden people are starting to see it. And I couldn't predict those changes. I was just continuing to do it. There was nothing that was going on that was different and that I can control. It's all algorithmic and based on a platform. Now, if I would have gotten, my jollies from connecting action to outcome, which is what most of us do, then I would have given up. But because I am painfully focusing on just the simple fact of doing the action with no reward, realizing that, yes, it is good, but that outcome comes very far in advance or very far down the road, and you don't know what it looks like. It's completely questionable. There's no benefit in the immediate term. That I continued to do this. And it's only till now that some of you are actually connecting to it. And the lesson with all of this is to, despite the fact that you're told that you have to do everything, we have the sort of basic way of doing things that you should expect outcomes by doing it, and that's the standard. Remember that often does not happen in most things that actually matter in your life. Probably almost predominantly all things that matter in your life. There's no connection, or at least no immediate connection between the action and that outcome. And just remember when you're doing it, that not to get frustrated, pick things that you know are good for you. Right? Exercise, for example. I'm doing that right now. Pick things that are good for you, but you'll never see the connection between action and outcome. You might see them at one point, but eventually that disappears. And I want you to remember that. Don't expect that to happen. Expect it to just you doing your thing, and you enjoying it as much as you possibly can, because it's the thing that you're doing. And I know it's incredibly frustrating, and I know you want to stop all of the time, but just keep doing it. Enjoy the moment of being there and loving that instead of thinking about any particular outcomes that you're going to get. I'm going to tell you this. If you exercise, almost all of you are not going to get ginormous or super fit or go to the Olympics or anything like that. But you just have to have fun doing it. Just like anything else that matters in your life. Parenting or running a business or doing any creative exercise, all things in life are that way. That there is not necessarily immediate connection between doing something that action and the outcome you get. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.